What if you can rent a family, a dad for a day, a fiancé for dinner, a best friend to sit next to you so you don't look alone? And that's exactly where Phillip starts. An American actor in Japan, broke, invisible, and one rejection away from giving up, until a mysterious agency in Tokyo offers him an easy job. Pretend, smile, show up, play the perfect relative, then disappear. Simple, right? Except what happened next was beyond what Phillip was expecting.
It's not that easy here. Mental health issues are stigmatized in this country. Parents, siblings, boyfriends, girlfriends, best friends. We played it all.
What do you need me for?
We need a talking white guy. It's a niche market. It's a chance to play roles with a real meaning.
Yeah, I'm just an actor. I don't know how to help people.
The movie is set in modern-day Tokyo, where an American man named Phillip Vanderploeg fails to catch a train. He continues his commute, barely making it in time to an audition for some acting role. Phillip is a washed-up, aging actor, having to make do with small gigs like being a fake tree. He drinks away the day's anxiety and regrets at his usual bar before commuting home to his studio apartment. There, he opens a can of beer and watches people in the next building. Each living their own lives, Phillip feels a bit less lonely by doing so. The next morning, he is jolted awake by a call from his talent agent, given a job to act as a sad American, but the gig is in 1 hour. Phillip rushes to the scene, which turns out to be a funeral. The atmosphere is awkward because he's late and has to shuffle to his seat. When a grieving friend of the deceased reads her heartfelt speech, Phillip is shocked to see that the corpse moves his head around to watch the eulogy. However, nobody else reacts. It turns out that the whole thing is a fake funeral, held by the supposedly dead man and his family. After hearing the eulogies, he feels a renewed purpose for living. Bewildered, Phillip tries to fit himself inside of the casket to see why that man did it. However, his employer of the day catches him in the act. The fake funeral is arranged by a specialized company named Rental Family, led by a man named Shinji Tada. Shinji says he'll be docking Phillip's pay because he was late and ruined the mood. Still confused, Phillip asks Shinji about his company, and the Japanese man invites him to visit their office sometime, as they might have some work for him. It doesn't take long for Phillip to visit. Shinji's office is small but clearly busy as clients keep calling them. 2 other workers were there, Aiko Nakajima and Kota Nakano, who were also at the fake funeral. Shinji explains that their company sells emotions. They provide people as actors to fill out specific roles for specific scenarios in their clients' lives.
It's not that easy here. Mental health issues are stigmatized in this country. Parents, siblings, boyfriends, girlfriends, best friends. We played it all.
What do you need me for?
We need a talking white guy. It's a niche market. It's a chance to play roles with a real meaning.
Yeah, I'm just an actor. I don't know how to help people.
Phillip doesn't seem interested in taking up that position, so he says goodbye to Shinji and walks away. Before he reaches the door, Shinji makes a quip about loving one of Phillip's old commercials. Reminded that his last big job was 7 years ago, he relents and accepts the offer to work with Rental Family. For his first job, Phillip and Aiko attend a proposal meeting with his client. The client wants to fake a marriage, with Phillip as the groom. Her family thinks it's a real marriage, and that they'll move to Canada immediately after the wedding. This seems to weigh on the man's conscience. He keeps asking the client if she's okay with lying to her parents like that, but she is sure of her choice.
Thank you for doing this for me.
Of course.
After the meeting, Aiko explains that in Eastern cultures, it's normal to put their family's happiness and pride before the truth. If people want to seek their own happiness, sometimes they need to lie. The wedding day is finally here, and Kota is making last-minute preparations. When he comes to fetch Phillip from the waiting room, the American man is gone. Kota reports this to Aiko and Shinji, and since they only have a few minutes until the wedding begins, they go on a frantic search around the building. Aiko finds Phillip locking himself in a bathroom stall, nerves making him want to cancel the gig entirely.
Well, it's a lie.
Hey,
What are you doing?
if you don't go through with this, you will ruin her life. The parents get the memory they want, the bride gets her freedom. Do you understand?
Phillip relents and opens the door, finally going through with the fake wedding. He and the client goes through the traditional Japanese wedding ceremony. By the end of it, the client's parents welcome Phillip into their family, sharing an embrace.
That was a beautiful wedding.
In the evening, he and the client wait awkwardly in the honeymoon suite until her real partner arrives. The client is a lesbian, and now she can live happily with her true partner.
Philip, ありがとう.
And Philip finally understands what Shinji and Aiko explain to him. Afterwards, Philip spends time with his usual call girl, explaining his new job to her. The next day, Philip apologizes for his cowardice before the ceremony, and Shinji accepts it as long as he's committed to his future gigs. His next gig is a big one. He's tasked to play an estranged father to a young girl. Still upset, Aiko says he's not ready for that job, but Shinji continues. Her mother needs a father figure for a private school entrance interview, but she wants her daughter to think that Philip is her actual father. Again, Philip isn't sure that he's capable of lying to a young girl, especially because he also didn't grow up with a father.
What if she finds out?
She can't. You have to trust yourself.
On the way home, he spots Aiko sitting alone at a ramen restaurant and decides to talk to her. He asks for a chance to try understanding the Japanese culture and why rental family is such a lucrative solution for people here.
You'll never understand how things work here.
You're right, I am Gaijin, but Japan is my home now. And I want to try to understand. Why do you do this?
What?
This job?
It's the way these people look at you. They've been waiting for you their whole lives.
That night, while Shinji spends his evening at home eating dinner with his small family, Philip rehearses his upcoming performance as a father. His role officially begins when he meets the client, Hitomi Kawasaki. She gives him a gift for Philip to give to her daughter when they finally meet. The meeting will be a surprise because Hitomi knows her daughter won't come if she knows. Inside the building, Hitomi introduces Philip to her daughter, Mia. His fake name is Kevin. He gives Mia the gift, but she angrily throws it at him, claiming that she can't be bribed. The girl runs away, and Philip tries to follow her.
Mia!
Stop following me!
Wait up! Please, stop!
When she finally stops, Philip explains that he's there to help Mia get accepted in a prestigious private school. He wants to be a useful father at the very least, so Mia makes him do a pinky swear that he won't ever leave her again.
Well, luck is for you. Never leave us again.
I swear.
Immediately after their chaotic first meeting, Shinji assigns another job for Philip. His role is a journalist who wants to interview and write about a famous old actor. His daughter wants him to feel like he hasn't been forgotten by society. That's why she hires Philip. Philip arrives at the traditional Japanese home and is greeted by the maid. She takes him to meet Kikuo Hasegawa, the elderly actor he's supposed to interview. The old man's behavior is eccentric, but it's clear that he has a passion for the arts.
This is a really impressive collection.
Tokyo! Let's get some air.
He walks barefoot to the house's garden, followed by Philip and Kikuo's frantic daughter, Masami. After she greets Philip and leaves, the two men sit in the garden and begin their interview session. The next meeting with Mia comes, and Philip attends a parents' observation day at her school. The children will be making crafts from recycled materials. Mia decides to bring a friend whose parents didn't show up to her table. She asks Philip to also be his father for the day, and he agrees. After the class, Mia thanks Philip for doing her a favor, and then gives him the craft she made earlier. Philip's heart softens as he hangs the craft by his bedroom window later that day. Aside from Mia and Kikuo, Philip is also assigned to other clients. The requests are sometimes simple, like being a cheerleader for a karaoke performance and playing a multiplayer video game with a shut-in man. However, they're not one-time clients, so he meets them again and again, just like Mia and Kikuo. For his next meeting with Mia, they come to an art exhibition. Mia seems to be warming up towards Philip as they walk through the area. Philip excuses himself to accept a call. It's from his agent, who tells him that he's been accepted for a role in a detective series. He would need to come to Korea for the shooting very soon, but he seems conflicted. When he returns to find Mia, they share a moment just enjoying the art. On the train ride back, Mia seems comfortable enough to fall asleep on Philip's shoulder. Philip's heart grows ever fonder for his fake daughter. The next time Philip visits Kikuo, he's having an argument with Masami. After she leaves, Kikuo walks out and tells his maid to order a cab, despite knowing Masami won't allow him to leave. He takes Philip to a restaurant where they can cook their own okonomiyaki, or Japanese savory pancake. Phillip inquires about Kikuo and Masami's argument, and the old man gives some parenting advice instead. After leaving for the restroom, Kikuo walks out of the restaurant without warning. Phillip follows him, but it seems like Kikuo's dementia has relapsed. Phillip takes him home. Before he leaves, Masami thanks him, but then asks to not indulge her father or grant him any more favors. Phillip meets Mia again at a cat-themed festival. She keeps asking him questions about his life, and he answers every single one according to the brief he was given. He also admits to not having a father figure, which isn't a lie, and that he has no more living family now. Mia decides to exchange phone numbers with Phillip so that he doesn't feel lonely anymore. They then come to a palm reader's stand, who turns out to be Phillip's regular call girl. She plays along with Phillip's act and gives Mia a reading. The father and daughter enjoy their day at the festival. And upon reaching home, Phillip opens a big envelope Mia has given him earlier. It contains her drawings inspired by their day at the art exhibition. His relationship with Mia has become too personal for Phillip. He calls his agent to let her know that he'll be rejecting the role for the detective series. His agent is bewildered since it could be Phillip's long-awaited career changer. However, Phillip can't imagine having to break his pinky promise and leave Mia again. During a job, Phillip receives a call from Mia, who is worried about her upcoming entrance exam. He gives her some encouragement before they hang up. Hitomi overhears some of the call, and is surprised that Mia and Phillip have started chatting on the phone. She's worried he might be getting too close to her daughter, so she tells Mia not to trust him that easily. This seems to upset Mia, who shuts her mother out for not caring about what she feels or wants. Later, Hitomi meets up with Phillip to practice for the parents' interview. After reading through the document, Phillip feels like the school should care more about Mia's personal talents and individuality. Hitomi doesn't want her parenting choices to be critiqued and retaliates.
Sorry, but I didn't hire you to lecture me on how to raise my child. Then why are you talking with her on the phone?
Just trying to help. This kid just wants to talk to her dad.
You are not her father.
I know.
Next, Phillip accompanies Kikuo to pray at a shrine. They talk about how Phillip stopped praying since he was 16, and Kikuo urges him to try it out again. Phillip asks what is inside of the shrine that Kikuo faces when he prays, but the old man just tells him to see for himself. Walking out, Kikuo asks Phillip for a favor. He wants Phillip to take him to his hometown, far away in Amakusa, because he apparently left something behind. He doesn't want Masami to know about the trip. Somewhere in town that night, Aiko is doing an apology service for a client. She gets slapped by the client's upset girlfriend, and Aiko charges extra to the frantic client. Meanwhile, Phillip finds Shinji looking through files in the office's filing room. Shinji reminds Phillip not to get too personal. He informs Phillip that Hitomi wants the next meeting with Mia to be their last because the girl is getting too attached to him. Phillip is distraught, but Shinji says that he'll need to move on because there's always a new client in the future. The next day, Kikuo is hunched down on a map when Phillip comes to visit. The senior actor says he's planning their jailbreak to his hometown. Phillip has to break the bad news that he won't be taking Kikuo to Amakusa because Masami would be worried and Kikuo's health might turn for the worst. This upsets Kikuo greatly, telling Phillip to leave and never come back again.
I'll see you tomorrow.
No.
Finally, the day of Mia's entrance exam is here. She is nervous, but Phillip gives her some encouragement. Mia is called for the exam while Phillip and Hitomi come to the interview room. In front of a panel of the school's staff, they answer the questions they rehearsed. However, Phillip goes off script by expressing his concern for Mia's education and even showing the staff how talented of an artist Mia is.
She makes me a better person every day. She will make this a better school.
Okay, thank you. ありがとうございました.
They finally conclude for the day, and it's time for Phillip to say goodbye. He tells Mia that he must return to America for work, and he won't be able to return for a year or even longer. Mia is very sad, but she accepts the farewell.
You'll be back, right?
I want you to know how proud I am of you.
That evening, Phillip drinks his sorrows at a bar with Aiko. They discuss whether they'd ever consider using their company's services. Phillip then asks what happened to Aiko's bruised cheek, and she says it's for work. He looks shocked and offers a listening ear for whenever Aiko needs one. Phillip returns home and takes down the arts and crafts Mia has given him throughout the weeks. When he watches his neighbors from the window, his gaze falls upon an old man, lonely, just like him. It helps him come to a decision. Early the next morning, he sneaks into Kikuo's house and wakes him up for their jailbreak. Kikuo excitedly picks out his disguise before they take off. The journey is long, requiring them to ride trains and even a boat. Meanwhile, at home, Mia is playing with her friend when he notices a man in a Japanese TV show. It's Phillip, whom Mia thought worked in an IT company in America. She tries calling him for an explanation, but he's not answering because he's in the middle of his trip with Kikuo. Later, Hitomi receives a call confirming that Mia is accepted at the private school. She's excited for her daughter, but Mia is clearly upset. She asks her mother if the man called Kevin is truly her father, then showing Hitomi the TV show from earlier. In Amakusa, after hitchhiking on a truck and taking a long hike up a mountain, Phillip and Kikuo arrive at an old, decrepit shrine. Behind it is an old traditional house where Kikuo grew up in, which has fallen to disrepair after many years of abandonment. The sun is setting now. Kikuo tells Phillip about his childhood of performing for his family in that house, his first ever stage performance. He thanks Phillip for bringing him home before his dementia hasn't fully consumed his memories. In the morning, Phillip wakes up to a panic as Kikuo is missing from the house. He searches the nearby forest for the old man, and finally finds him crouching by some rocks. Kikuo starts digging the patch of soil under him, and after some help from Phillip, they uncover a jar. It's filled with Kikuo's old belongings, and more importantly, pictures of his past. He used to have a lover in his youth, but shortly after he moved alone to Tokyo, he received news that she had fallen ill and died. Soon after, they leave the house to return home. While hiking down the mountain, Phillip receives many notifications once his phone has a signal. He calls Shinji, who picks up and starts yelling at him for kidnapping Kikuo and jeopardizing his company.
My business is gone.
Do you understand that? Hypocrite.
Phillip calls him a hypocrite who says that they're helping people when they're actually just hurting them. However, Phillip notices that Kikuo has fallen unconscious and takes him to a hospital. While waiting, the police come to arrest him for an alleged kidnapping attempt. Shinji tries to reason with the police on Phillip's behalf, saying that it's a misunderstanding. However, despite Kikuo being fine after some treatment, they must prove that Phillip is innocent within 2 days, or he'll be prosecuted. Aiko and Kota immediately move to find a solution, but Shinji wants to just let the police deport Phillip. He reminds his employees of the jobs they must do, so they both leave the office. Aiko goes to a client's house for another apology gig, pretending to be her client's mistress and apologizing to his wife. However, after some thought, she decides to tell the truth to the wife before leaving the house. She calls Shinji to announce that she's quitting the company. Shinji returns home dejected, but his family is waiting for him. However, it turns out that even his family is fake. His wife and son are actors that he hires every single evening. Phillip's words struck a chord in his conscience, and he tells them to stop their acting and leave.
Yeah.
The next day, Aiko and Kota come to Kikuo's house disguised as lawyers to discuss Phillip's case with Kikuo. While waiting in the foyer, they hear that a detective has come to the house to discuss Phillip's case as well. They panic, thinking their disguises will be blown until they see that the supposed detective is actually just Shinji in disguise. Phillip, now freed, comes to Aiko's apartment to say thank you for helping with his release. Apparently, they got Kikuo to admit that he forced Phillip to be his accomplice for his secret trip and made Masami drop the charges. Aiko asks why Phillip took the risk of helping Kikuo, and he explains that it's due to regret of not coming to his own father's funeral 2 years ago. Now, he wants to be there for Kikuo. Unfortunately, soon after the conversation, Phillip receives news that Kikuo has passed away. He attends the funeral wake, and while saying his final goodbye to his friend, he slips Kikuo's old pictures from his hometown into his suit jacket.
I'll see you again, my friend.
Phillip reunites with Shinji outside of the venue. He apologizes for his harsh words, but Shinji says that he needed to hear it. Aiko and Kota join them as they walk away together. Meanwhile, in the Kawasaki household, Hitomi finally apologizes for lying to Mia. Sometime later, Mia is walking to school when she stops, noticing Phillip nearby. He says that he's not being paid, and he's gotten permission from Hitomi to come and visit Mia. He apologizes for lying and hurting Mia's feelings, but he admits that he enjoyed playing her father.
Could have told me you were famous.
I'm not famous.
What's your real name?
I'm Phillip.
I'm Mia.